And we're going to start with Greg Spencer from Paradigm. There's information in the delegate profiles. It's a social enterprise working to create sustainable social, economic and environmental value within developing world communities. So thank you, Greg. I look forward to hearing that. And I'm afraid we're going to get a little bleeper sort of about a minute before it's sort of time to wrap up so we can keep more or less on schedule. And my apologies to the speakers because I know it's always interesting to hear more, but that will help us stay on time. Thank you, Greg.
A beep is fine, Jerry. I plan to be done in about 12 minutes, so thank you. As he said, I'm Greg Spencer. I am blessed to be the chairman and co-founder of the Paradigm Project, which is a for-profit social venture company with a nonprofit affiliate headquartered in the U.S., operating in East Africa, and with a growing pipeline of projects in Central America, Africa, and Asia. I'd like to, in 12 minutes it's hard, but Nick, what I'd like to do is address the question of whether it is possible to develop a social venture without compromising either the social component or the financial component. And so before I begin, let me just give you a very brief visual perspective of what we're doing. Harrison, if you could show the video.
This is another story of great need in our world. A story of a family's burden, a woman's burden, and a dying environment. But it's also a more common story than you'd think. Because 3 billion of us in this world cook over an open fire for every meal. 1 in 2 of us have to walk miles and miles to collect wood, to breathe in the equivalent of 40 cigarettes a day, and spend 1/3 of our income on buying fuel just to cook for our families. As a result, forests are disappearing, and nearly 2 million of our women and children die each year from the smoke caused by cooking over open fires. So what do we do about this? Do we create a nonprofit to raise awareness, build the cause, and implement the solution to end cooking over open fires? The Paradigm Project asked this, and our answer was a little different than you might think. Our answer was profit. Profit from the poor, so we can profit for the poor, and change the paradigm of giving, of investing, and of the 3 billion of us that cook over an open fire for every meal. The Paradigm Project, a low-profit company, set out to create sustainable economic, social, and environmental value within developing world communities, and to impact the lives of millions of people through something pretty simple. A rocket stove. A stove that would drastically reduce a family's need for wood, improve their economic stability, and create a better, safer environment in the kitchen. But it's really more than a rocket stove. It's a tool for leveraging the hundreds of billions of dollars of value in the carbon markets. A tool to turn the tide on deforestation that is devastating our planet. And a tool to change the paradigm that so many of us face. Through these rocket stoves, the Paradigm Project can leverage the carbon markets to give investors healthy returns, to create a sustainable solution for communities that have no other option available, and create profits from the poor so we can profit for the poor. It's a paradigm shift, but we can't do it alone. Will you join us?
Two and a half to 3 billion people still cook over an open fire. That consequence leads to this ever-expanding scale of social, environmental, and economic problems, including the death of almost 2 million women and children every year from lower respiratory disease caused by the smoke. The World Health Organization indicates that more children under the age of 5 die from indoor air pollution than from any other single cause, including malaria, HIV/AIDS, even malnutrition. The National Institute of Health estimates that in addition, as many as 300,000 people a year die from burns related to open cooking fires. And in countless developing economies around the world, deforestation is causing unprecedented environmental degradation which just exacerbates and accelerates the problem of poverty for people who depend almost entirely on natural resources for their livelihoods. A few slides behind here, I need to catch up. Forgot this was my job too. But rocket stoves are not new technology. In fact, they've been around for at least 20 years. However, manufacturing and distributing these in a efficient way and in a financially sustainable manner through market-based systems and at a scale that will materially address the problem is new. Bottom of the pyramid businesses have historically been very difficult to fund and develop from scratch. But at the Paradigm Project, we can achieve both scale and sustainability through a two-tier business model that combines manufacture and distribution of stoves with carbon offsets. Currently, we're producing in Kenya about 2,500 stoves a month, and we're on target to increase that to in excess of 5,000 stoves before the end of the year. Our original projections were to distribute 20,000 stoves for 2011. We're seeing demand that's significantly in excess of that, and we're actually producing and selling well over 7,000 with an objective of achieving at least 80,000 stoves this year. We work through existing wholesale and retail distribution channels, and in terms of the social output metrics, which clearly is a focus, here's an example of what our current project just in Kenya we believe will achieve. 2 million people. What used to occur in this slide was also an estimate of the number of lives saved. It was a range, but what we found is that the underlying data to actually support that claim is very difficult. And there are a number of studies going on, not enough, but so that line actually is omitted from this slide now because it is very, very difficult to quantify the specific benefit associated with a 60% reduction in the toxic emissions, to your point, Andrea. I know that looks like a misstatement, 191 million hours of time, but all of these statistics are supported by calculations that appear on our website, so if you'd like to check those out. But in terms of the social benefit, at 12 cents an hour, $23 million, over 5 million trees, over 1.5 million tons, $4.5 million in fuel saved, to a value, a dollar equivalent value to the community of over $30 million. These measurements and these statistics were calculated primarily using independent third-party auditors and engineering calculations. And this is just for the project in Kenya. We're planning to expand this project into hopefully 4 other East African countries in the next 12 months using the Kenya model within a free trade zone that exists in that part of the world. These are our partners that we work with on the ground: Food for the Hungry, Compassion International, World Vision, and the World Food Program of the UN, among others. So the question is, really, why hasn't this kind of a project worked before? Many previous stove projects were implemented by NGOs that either tried to train a small pocket of artisans to produce the stoves, or they would purchase them in bulk and then give them away. These projects lack the ability to then control the quality and to be able to scale and sustain profits that a traditional market-based system would have allowed. And while many development NGOs and nonprofits are not well suited for many commercial activities, we actively partner with these organizations to provide culturally appropriate education and training and follow-through and community support, which is really critical to an effective program. In return, we help them drive huge social, environmental, and economic benefits in communities that they've often been serving for many, many years, sometimes as long as a decade. And while we don't have time to really go through this slide, what it graphically depicts is that we actually have partnered with what we believe are best-in-class providers in 7 different industries in order to create a level of performance that is otherwise unattainable. So our business model is new in at least 3 different ways. We have a unique collaboration of for-profit and nonprofit, faith-based and secular, and public and private organizations. Second, we have a capital model that enables donors and investors to invest pari passu into a project and achieve a scale that neither can independently. And then third, the financial sustainability by connecting these on-the-ground operations and more than a decade of experience in the carbon project development market to connect that with a $140 billion a year market to create a financial sustainability. And collectively, we achieve a scale of social impact that actually one day we believe can affect tens of millions of people. Is that my timer already? Great. So let me get to the financial part. We started this project in June. It's fully funded at $3 million, with a projected IRR of 22%. These assumptions are based on things like a 400,000 stove scale, which is actually very conservative. We think that ultimately will represent about 8% market penetration. A stove combustion and carbon offset sales that are actually well in excess of our originally projected elements. And at the end of a 10-year project life, we will actually donate the carbon asset to the community. So we believe that at a 22% originally projected and conservatively projected IRR, our investors will not only do good, but they will do very well. Just in closing, let me say that for many years, I was looking for an opportunity to combine the skills that I had been given with a desire to really tangibly meet the needs of the poor. At Paradigm, we think we've been able to combine different kinds of impact investing with best-in-class partners to achieve returns where there is no compromise of even aggressive social, economic, and environmental objectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Greg. It's extraordinary the impact that Greg and his team have had and that we can have. When I was in Uganda a year ago with the CEO of an engineering company, he said, in Britain I can make a modest difference. In Uganda I could make such a difference with the skills and resources that I've got. And that's a challenge for us all.